Hello and welcome back to my channel. I guess the only thing that I'm going to use this for will be to document my top 10 videos from now on, which is what I'm doing today. I'm going to do the top 10 video games that I played in 2023. It's January 1st, so I feel like 2023 is done. Any game that I've played that year, it already happened. I won't miss anything now, which is the way that I think it should be done, even though people want these videos in December. But again, I don't have a big channel, and I can do what I want. I don't have a big channel. It's literally the tiniest. Maybe one person will watch this. In 2023, I'm going to refer to it as this year, even though it's technically 2024. So this past year, I played 41 different games. I rolled credits on 20, and I'm including a few games where rolling credits doesn't really matter, right? So like Splatoon 3 is in that category. I'm not counting it because I counted it the year that it came out, and it hasn't received any DLC or anything. Well, I might have actually received the DLC where it plays, where you get to play in the square with like Callie and Marie from Splatoon 1, which I do. So I am using that DLC. And there were several re-releases and everything. So this, I'm going to be talking about a few more games and gaming experiences than just like the top 10 games that I rolled credits on, because a few things happened this year for me in terms of playing games. I'm naturally not going to talk about the terrible state that the industry is in right now. We all know that. All the people with bigger audiences are talking about that. And I am definitely in the camp that like games should be more expensive so that the people working on them can be paid fairly, and they should take longer to come out so that we don't have terrible crunch culture. So I'm definitely in that category, and that's about all I'm going to say on it, even though it warrants a much bigger conversation and actual solutions need to come about. So for me this year, the thing about games that I think I loved the absolute most, so I'll talk about it now before I actually get into the countdown, is that I was able to play games with many more friends than I have in the past before. And I say many, and it's literally like it's like two more people and then like one of their kids. So I'll talk about that a little bit. One of my friends, one of them had a dear friend who passed, who loved video games. The person who passed loved video games. And this friend of mine, they just weren't really in the market ever for them. And this friend of mine wanted to try them and asked me to get with them and play video games. And so I did. I thought of what games should I play with this person? And came up with a few. And Gris, when I played Gris, I thought about this friend. The idea of using music to overcome grief, and singing in particular with the beautiful watercolors, really reminded me of this friend. The first time I played it, so I was like, we've got to play this. And fortunately, it's not a complicated platformer, so this person who doesn't really have experience playing video games was able to do it. And then this friend of mine is also into Alien, so I showed them Alien Isolation, one of my favorite video games. And getting to do that really, it's cliche, but it warmed my heart. It was one of my favorite days this year in terms of how I got to spend it. I really, really quite enjoyed it. And I loved it. We didn't get too far. We got to, in Alien Isolation, we got to the part where Like, it's the first time that you can actually be killed by the alien, right after you go and you sneak past all the people. I was playing it on a harder difficulty, and that part of getting first past all the people was very hard, but I figured out a way to just sneak by all of them. I hid out in a corner, they all walked past me, and then I walked past all of them. It was very good. And then, yeah, we found the alien, and I got killed by the alien first opportunity. And because last time in the easier difficulty, you can just scooch by the alien. And in the harder difficulty, that's not quite a possibility. It totally noticed me and got me, and I was like, okay, I'll have to figure out how to be a bit sneakier. It's a very cool tutorial section. Yeah, so I also got to play with another friend of mine for a little bit. And this particular day, his whole family was very sick. He was getting a little bit better at this point in the day, though, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, because this game actually made the top 10 list. But we also played Mario Kart 64, and it was just very fun. I've started babysitting his girls. He's got 4 girls. One of them is still a baby proper, not walking yet. So she didn't really get to play. But the other 3, they're in like 2nd grade, kindergarten, and then one of them would still be in preschool. So the kindergarten and preschool are still pretty young, but the one in 2nd grade, that was when I had started playing video games. I at least in terms of like a console, it's like a fun thing. My family had computer games when I was growing up that were more educational, like Jumpstart and Clue Finders. And I was playing those before we really had a console, and I was doing that, and I would play them some still even after I had the console. I'd had to, right? Like, I was playing Clue Finders 3rd grade, but it doesn't make sense to me that I was doing that before 2nd grade. Maybe I was. I don't know. I was a gifted kid, so it could make sense. But I wasn't keeping track of things back then like I do now. And so, but getting to play with his girls, we played Super Mario World. That was a situation where it was their first time playing video games. So I cut that. I told a friend of mine about that, and he was like, you were given a lot of power in that moment. Because of me, their first video game is Super Mario World. Super Mario World was the first video game that I bought with my own money back when I was a kid. And it's like with my own money, that money was like presents from my birthday and Christmas. So it wasn't necessarily like money that I had worked for or earned or whatever. But I still got to share that with them, and I really quite enjoyed it. This year, there are also a few things worth noting in video games. I had 100%ed a few files that I had left, that I had wanted to 100%, but did not do so years ago. So the first one I'll talk about is Luigi's Mansion. I had wanted to get all golds on all the ghosts on a first playthrough. It's easier to do that on a New Game Plus, but I had wanted to do that on a regular New Game. And so I had done that. This was, I don't even know what year it was, but it was years ago. Like, it was, I think it was before 2018. Because before then is just a giant clump of time in my head, and I'm not sure exactly when this gets placed in my timeline. But I got stuck at the Clockwork Soldiers and just eventually gave up, because I was trying to do it, not succeeding, and then like I'd go and reset, and in Luigi's Mansion you'd have to walk a big long way, so I got really discouraged and sick of it and didn't continue. But this year, this was in January. In January of this year, basically during winter break, I was really feeling down and really wanted nostalgic games to help me feel a little bit better. So I played a lot of GameCube and N64 games, mostly GameCube games, to be completely honest. It was mostly GameCube. I played some some games on iOS. So I played Bloons Tower Defense 4, which was an old, back when I was in high school, game that I played, and I got a hold of like Plants vs. Zombies on... I had an iPhone at the time, so I was playing it on my iPhone. So I was playing those older, more nostalgic games, and then also played so like the Luigi's Mansion that I'm talking about, and I also played Pikmin 2. I played some Pokemon Colosseum. Realized that the way that I was going to do it, I wanted to play with the Plusle that you get from duking, and with a Remoraid. I wanted to play with an Octillery. And those are the two Pokemon that you get at the lowest levels out of all the Pokemon. So it would have been a lot of grinding, which I already do in those games, but I wasn't feeling it with Colosseum. But I booted up XD, and I was looking at a file. It was a file that a friend of mine years ago had played back when I was at community college. And we were hanging out over Christmas break, and we played through Colosseum, and I was like, all right, we do XD Gale of Darkness next. And we ended up not finishing it. We fell out of touch. And so I booted it up to like take a look at what we had done, and was messing around. I was like, I'm really enjoying this. So I decided to just play XD Gale of Darkness. But the other big game that I had 100%ed from years ago, and this was even before Luigi's Mansion, I think. It was my original file on Super Mario Sunshine. I just had the lily pads level left, and I finished it. I had tried to do it several times, and everyone knows that that's the worst level, because getting there is the worst. But I had decided that I was going to do it, so I did. I went there. I started by collecting a whole bunch of 1-ups so that I wouldn't have to do the boat again. That would probably have stopped me if I would have gotten a game over and had to just restart. I would not have been pleased. So fortunately, that didn't happen. It only took me maybe like 3 or 4 or 5 tries. I was only there for like 30 minutes. It wasn't very long at all, and I took a photo of the final screen when it said that I had 120 shines. It literally was that shine. And then I would be good. And so I went and I got it, and I 100%ed the game, and then I was like, that was lame. I want to like play the whole game now. So I did, but I just played enough to get to Bowser and then some. Like if there was an 8th shine in a world that I was particularly fond of, or a secret shine that I liked, I went and got those. So that was good, getting to do that nostalgia. It was really a desire for that comfort, the comfort of playing on the GameCube. I did a few N64 stuff, but we'll talk about that later. Some other games that are worth talking about, getting closer and closer to the list. These games would have been on the list, but I didn't want to count them. And that is Metroid Prime Remastered and Pikmin. The Pikmin that was released for the Switch. When I played Pikmin 2, that was on the GameCube earlier this year. And I might have played Pikmin 2 again with this re-release, if I hadn't had played it on the GameCube earlier, back in January and February. And the reason that I didn't is because it's fresh in my mind how big that game is. But Pikmin is small. It only takes me like 4 hours to do it, and it's easier to beat that game on the Switch than it is on the GameCube. So I actually set a record this year. I've rolled credits on it twice, and I set a record of 12 days, which isn't that impressive in the Pikmin 1 community. I've seen much faster speedruns and just generally playing faster, but that's the fastest I've ever done it. 14 was my record before that, so 2 whole days faster. And both times I actually beat Emperor Bullblax in 1 day. That's not something that I've ever done before. Beaten him in 1 day and gotten the ship part. That's something I've never been able to do. I've been able to beat him in a day, but it's usually so tight that I'm not able to get the ship part in time. So I don't know if they made him easier or if the controls are better, so that makes it easier. Because the control improvements are legitimate improvements. What else? What else? Oh, the other one to talk about is Metroid Prime Remastered, which is a great game. Like, I already know that I love Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime 2 and 3 are games on my physical retro game. Calling them retro feels bad, but I mean, if retro is what was good when we were kids, then or what was recent when we were kids, then it's a retro game. In my head, retro is for games that were there before I was playing games, or that were games that existed before I was playing games. But whatever, we don't need to have that conversation right now. But the first Metroid Prime I had played on the GameCube and beaten it and loved it. Started playing Metroid Prime 2, got stuck on one of the bosses and didn't want to continue. I'll probably restart that game because I'm fairly far into it. Well, I actually don't know how far I am into it. It's enough of a distance that, like, I go back in and I'm like, what exactly is going on again? And I was having a hard time understanding everything the first time, so it'd be good for me to go back and pay more attention and be like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. So that game, like Metroid Prime, if this was if my first time playing Metroid Prime Remastered or playing Metroid Prime was on this remastered, it would be very high in the list. Similarly with Pikmin, it would be very high in the list, but I already know that I love Pikmin. And it was one of my first games ever. So that's no surprise. And again, I've beaten it. I've gotten to credits twice on it this year. Since it's come out. There are few games that I've done that with, where I've played them start to finish. And Pikmin, I 100%, well, if you don't count the Smoky Prog, the first time I did it in 16 days, and I fought the Smoky Prog. I didn't fight the Smoky Prog my second time, when I got it in 12 days. So not fighting the Smoky Prog definitely impacted my time. But also, like, I fight the Armored Cannon Beetle for the Radiation Canopy. Which you don't need to do. You just need to break down the wall and get enough Pikmin to get the piece moving, and then you distract it. But I beat it so it's like, I know I could go faster. Well, but honestly, with that one, I don't know if I can go faster, because that I have to go and get that after I get blues. And so that really ends up being the day where I get the Giger counter, the Sagittarius, and the Radiation Canopy, because those are the three pieces that are blocked by water. What else? Yeah, so Pikmin, Metroid Prime Remastered, those are the re-releases that I played and enjoyed. But since it wasn't my first time beating them, it doesn't feel good putting them on this year's top 10. Other games to talk about will be Hollow Knight and Tears of the Kingdom. I haven't rolled credits on these games yet. I am enjoying them. I do like them quite a bit. I wasn't really in the best space to play Tears of the Kingdom because I had just finished the Breath of the Wild DLC. Like, I went and purchased it because I did love Breath of the Wild. I talked about that in the top 10. I think it was my number one game of the year that I had played it. I mean, it was either that or some other incredible game, right? But that was a game where it's like all I did for a month was play that game. Like, quite literally, it was all I did for a month. And I loved it. And Tears of the Kingdom was so soon after that, I didn't have the 7-year gap, right? I played the Champions Ballad DLC, didn't have the gap again. So I didn't have that waiting time period, so jumping right back in kind of felt like I was, in fact, jumping right back in. So it didn't hit quite the same way that I think it was hitting for everyone else who played the games as they came out. But I've been working on it and just piecing away at Tears of the Kingdom, and I have been enjoying it. It's an easy game to just get into and do for a little bit. I've fought Muktarok, and I quite loved him. He's one of my favorite Zelda bosses ever. He's so... I can't believe that you go and you encounter this guy, and he's just this silly little guy, and you're like, you're Ganon's force of evil that's tormenting the Zoras? You're just a silly little guy. It was very funny. His boss fight reminded me a lot of Shiver's boss fight in the Splatoon 3 DLC. And it's good. And Hollow Knight is also good, and I've been streaming it. I've been really enjoying it. I've taken an unintentional break from streaming, so it would be good for me to get on and stream with people watching and things like that. That would be great. I would love that. It just hasn't really happened. Oh, another game that I played with people this year was Deep Rock. I started playing Deep Rock Galactic. I got a PC this year. It's not a PC, it's a gaming laptop. But I have a gaming laptop. I wasn't ever planning on doing any big PC gaming. I'm definitely more of a console boy. But getting the PC allows me to play Deep Rock with my friends, and I'm quite liking it. In fact, later on today, I'm going to go and play with them, and I'm very excited about it. It'll be my second time playing. So that's... Deep Rock isn't on the top 10 list because I've only played it once, and I'm going to play it again, and it's probably going to just end up being a more social game for me. But it could get its hooks in me, and I could end up playing it quite a bit. I've got the PC, or the laptop rather, and I've got it set up now so that I can just hop on and play, and I'm quite liking it. So it could end up being a thing that I was getting into. So now that I've talked about some of the auxiliary games, I rolled credits on 20 games this year. I've already talked about several of them. The new games, the games that I hadn't played before, these are the ones that I'm putting on the top 10 list, the games that are new to me. There were 13 games that I rolled credits on that I had not rolled credits on before. And these are the ones that I'm going to talk about. Well, one of them I didn't roll credits on, but when we get there, we'll talk about it and it'll make sense. So these are new games, or one of them is a DLC, which you already know what it is. So let's just get to it. I'm actually going to talk about all 13, but the ones that aren't in the top 10, I'll just go really quick. So number 13 was Breath of the Wild DLC, the Champions Ballad. It was good. It was fun. I loved the final boss fight. That was the best thing. Actually finally fighting an old Sheikah zombie. That was so good. That was like a thing that really felt like that this was missing. So them adding that to the game was very satisfying and very good. I quite enjoyed that. Number 12 is Super Mario 64. That is the N64 game that I played this year, and that's that one. There's this and two other games that feel like important pieces of gaming history that I played this year that now that I have played, I feel like I understand gaming a little bit more. I didn't love it that much. You guys all know that I'm not the biggest fan of the Marios, the 3D platformers. They're not games that I get wildly excited about, but I did enjoy it. It was fun to run around and do all the things and complete the missions and do the stuff. I did only get 70 stars before I went and fought Bowser, so it wasn't a I enjoyed it, but not enough to go and get like a 71st star. I never figured out how to get the metal cap, so that feels weird. I did get the flying cap, and that was the thing where I was like, there's this Beam of light. It's like Noki Bay. If I look at the sun like Noki Bay. And then I got there and I was like, oh, so they did that here first. Okay. And then the invisibility cap. I don't remember how I got it, but I did. The metal cap, though, I never got. So honestly, my experience would generally be considered incomplete. Favorite world was the ghost house one, obviously, the haunted mansion one. I mean, it's a haunted mansion. I also remember I think it's Tall Mountain. It's the one where there's the gap and you there are like mushrooms in the gap and you can jump over the mushrooms. The mushroom jumping section really sticks out in my brain. Next, after Mario 64 was Plants vs. Zombies. I already talked about playing it. I liked it. It was fun. After that, number 10, we are at the official list. 25 minutes into the video, and we're finally at the list. Gosh, I should get an editor and figure out how to actually write these, because there's a lot of stuff I would already cut, and it would be much shorter. I should make this a two-parter, because the actual top 10 part will probably be another 25 minutes. That's not going to happen, because I don't edit these. Number 10 is Ecco. I was staying at a friend's house of mine, and he has a bunch of old consoles. And on the place, and I was like, all right, I'm here at his place. I've got to, and he is like a librarian, a collector, in some of the truest sense of the word. I read the entire Scott Pilgrim manga. I finished reading Attack on Titan at his place, using his books. And I played Ecco. He had Ecco. I think I would have played Silent Hill if he had Silent Hill instead. But he's Final Fantasy and Mega Man and stuff like that. Horror games are not really his jam. He had Ecco, so I played Ecco. And it was fun. I loved the environment so much. It really made me very excited to play Shadow of the Colossus and Last Guardian. And I did like the having a companion that you're going and trying to protect. It just had the game problem where it's like there are unclear instructions in other places, and there were just other parts that were just frustrating. But it's like you go and you learn and you get used to it and you overcome the frustration. It was very good. I really quite enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoyed it more than the other three. Champion's Ballad is number 13 because it's like, it really is just like the big boss fight, right? It's not the big whole complete game. Very good addition to Breath of the Wild, but Ecco, number 10. Number 9 was Link's Awakening. That was another game that I borrowed from a friend. This was the Switch version, not the... I own the Game Boy Color version on my 3DS. So at some point I'll be able to go and play through the original, but I played through the remake and it was very enjoyable. Just a small, quaint little Zelda game, and it's a game that I'm like, I wish that I kind of owned that copy so that I could go through and experience that section again. I loved getting to like Animal Village and the part where you lead the ghost to his house. That part was really good. It was fun. I also just love the general conflict of the monsters wanting the world to keep on existing while you're fighting to destroy the world. But you're doing that because that's what has to happen. It isn't a real world. So it was a very interesting conflict, and I quite like that too. Number 8 is... This is the game that I was playing with my friend who was sick. I've also played it with another friend since that time in real life. And this game also basically caused me to get the Nintendo Switch N64 controller. And this game is GoldenEye. It was one of the best times that I had. We were just sitting on the couch. We played every level, played a bunch of the different modes and multiplayer. And it had that feeling of like, I can see why this was a treasured grade school sleepover event. It was so fun, and I'll remember I remember it fondly. And my friend of mine, like, I went and I spent Christmas with him and his family, and and he like said like that day was so fun for him too. Like, he really liked it. So it was a really special time playing that game. I have been wanting to play it, and just haven't had the chance. I'll have to try and get my friends that have the big Nintendo expansion to get on and play it sometime, because it was so fun. I really enjoyed it so much. The jank of it, we played Golden Gun, we played Power Weapons, we played Knife Throwing. We didn't play Slappers, but I still like ended up slapping him enough that it was like we didn't really need to. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun. After GoldenEye, number 7 is Pokemon Scarlet. This is the first Pokemon game that made me cry. And it was the part when you find out that his Mabostiff is sick. That's the part that made me cry. But getting to a part of a story, or the part in the story where there's a mom who was selfish and left on her own volition, that hit a little bit close to home, and I was like, oh my gosh, this Pokemon game has a very intense and deep story, and it's very good. And I really liked the play, like the NPCs. Mostly Nimona and Arven. I didn't like Penny, but her theme was really good. Everyone else in Team Star, I really quite liked. All the other bosses, they were incredible. Fighting the Titans was so much fun. Almost all of the new Pokemon designs are amazing. There are several that are really bad, though. So that's fun. Normally there's like one or two that I'm like, you are bad. But this round, it was like there were some really good hits and some really awful misses. And I didn't love walking around the world. So I haven't gotten the DLC. I don't care to do more Pokemon like that. I'm really hoping that this year, 2024, the Pokemon release is like a Pokemon, like a Gen 5 Legends game. I don't know who it would be, but the thing that I'm nervous about will be that it'll be like a Pokemon future tech Genesect, and it'll shove us into the far future in a sci-fi based world. Where everything is like the future and technologic and robots and everything. And I don't want that. I'd much rather have like a Legends Kyurem, right? But that doesn't really line up because Arceus wasn't in Kyurem's spot. That was Dialga, or no, not Dialga, Giratina. And we didn't get Legends Giratina, we got Legends Arceus. So who is in the role of Arceus in Gen 5? Right? Kind of hard to say, right? Because it's not really... It could be Keldeo. Legends Keldeo could be cool. Or like a Legends Meloetta. That could be neat. The thing is that neither of those are like gods, so it wouldn't quite work with the theming of Arceus. But talking about Scarlet, I don't have the DLC. I didn't get it. I'm not going to. It's not worth it. I don't feel like picking up Pokemon Scarlet again. So I'm not going to do that with the DLC. I was willing to do that with Sword and Shield, and I did end up quite enjoying it. But the thing... I'm talking negatively about it now, and it's number 7 on the list. The thing about it, though, is that, remember, it's number 7 for a reason. All the good things that I was talking about at the beginning, like, are still there, still true, and it was an important game, but it's one of those things where it's like, I've hung up the game now, so I went with it, played it, had my fun with it, and now it's done, and I really enjoyed it, and I don't need more. After Pokemon Scarlet, number 6 is Portal. I mentioned earlier this was the year that I got a gaming laptop, so I got my Steam account back, so I'm able to play my PC games. And included in that is Portal. I was very tempted to buy the Portal release that's on the Switch, because I didn't know when I was going to get another gaming PC, but I needed a new laptop. So I was just like, I'll just get a gaming laptop so I can play the games like that, right? Because I want to play Portal. I want to play Portal. I want to play... Back when I was thinking about this, Franbo hadn't dropped on consoles. I was like, I want to play Portal, I want to play Franbo. Those aren't very demanding games. Use it to play Deep Rock, so it's like they're not the most demanding thing, so I can get away with it being a laptop. And I loved Portal. It was so good. Everything that you hear about it, where it's like it starts out great, and then you hit the moment where you have to like run for your life, and then you end up in the back rooms, and you're like, I shouldn't be here. How do I get out of here? It felt so good. It felt like I really was like running for my life and trying to escape. The boss fight against GLaDOS was fun. Naturally, like, she's the highlight of the game, right? Like, the only character who talks, and she's incredible and really is definitely a highlight of that game. And then the song Still Alive. It was good. I was playing that song over and over again throughout the year. I really enjoyed myself, and I wouldn't mind like going back and playing some more. So I'm excited for Portal 2 because I have Portal 2. So I'm really looking forward to it. Next game, are we at 5? Yeah, we're at 5. Number 5 is Pikmin 4. We got another Pikmin game this year. This definitely was the game that I was most excited about coming out this year. And it was fantastic. It was so good. This is this? Yeah, it's the only game on this list that came out this year. Wow. I mean, Metroid Prime Remastered and Pikmin on the Switch came out this year too. And I bought one other game that came out this year. That was the Metal Gear Solid Collection. Every other game that I bought this year did not come out this year, and every other game that I played this year did not come out this year. So that's really funny. Pikmin 4 made the number 5 spot. It's really good. It started out and I was like, I hate the dog, and I still hate the dog. And I was like, it's so easy. I wish that all these people would stop talking and let me just play the game. And after you get out of that area and the game ramps in difficulty, it's the best Pikmin game. It all the hard challenges are they're so good. They're so good and delightful, and I loved it. I loved it. I loved the levels. Particularly so spoilers. Well, I mean obviously, but like the thing that I loved the most, I would recommend skipping ahead, honestly, if you don't want to hear this. So skip ahead now. My favorite part was the level where the 2 water wraiths drop on you. Because you get the first one, and you're like, okay, water wraith, I can handle this. I've done this before. That's fine. It's no big deal. And then like a few moments later, the second one drops, and you're like, I legit panicked. I had no idea what to do. I was like, are you kidding me? There's 2 of them now? I had real, like, it was like the same fear when I played it for the first time. And it's like, who would have known? Dropping 2, I didn't even realize that was a possibility in this Pikmin universe. But there it was, and it was crazy. Absolutely crazy. And just that moment, it was so good. And I loved Olimar's part, right? Where you're like, you have 15 days to get 30 ship parts. Like, oh, this is just like Pikmin 1 all over again. Hi, how are you? And you only get to use red, yellow, and blue Pikmin. Hi, how are you? And they're not one for one, all the parts, but a bunch of the memorable parts come back. And it's, hi, how are you? It was so good. And you get to like redo iconic boss fights. It was fun. It was really fun. And I know that it's just appealing to the Pikmin 1 fanboys. Hi, how are you? And it worked, and it was great, and I loved it, and had a great time. Number 4 is Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations. It's kind of fun that number 5 was the 4th game, and now number 4 is the 3rd game. This game, oh gosh, it's so good. Ace Attorney is so good, and this one was so good. I think Godot is my favorite character. In anything. I think he's my favorite character in anything. He is so stupid and speaks so poetically. Like, I am still thinking about the line where he's like, no, you don't cry until it's done. And then you get to the part where he's like, everything is red to me, so these are just tears because it's done. Oh, it's so good. But then the part when Mia Fey, like, just totally told off that evil ghost girl, and she, like, expelled out of her, that got... You all know the Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the part where, like, something really cool and incredible, and it gets an oh damn. And, like, there was the part where Jake got the triple oh damn. That game got, unironically, like, it didn't even occur to me until afterward. It got an unironic oh damn out of me. It was so good. Oh gosh, go play those games. The story is so good. And Godot really, really speaks to me as a character. I love him so much. Trials and Tribulations. That's one of those games that I'm like, oh yeah, I played that this year. It was... Cycling normally disrupts my gameplay in the summer. So I almost categorize my game playing into semesters like with school, but since I put this up at the end of the year or the beginning of the new year, I have the spring semester, then the fall semester. Instead of a normal school year, that's like fall then spring. So some of the games that I play before summer are reasons that I make the list, because without the list, I would occasionally be like, oh my gosh, I played that this year. Another game that's like that, and it's one of those things where it's like, I can't believe it finally happened, is game number 3, and that's Franbo. I already talked about it dropping on the Switch. Franbo is one of my favorite games that I saw back when it released on PC, and it was enough for me to really consider getting a PC. And Scorn. Scorn was on that list, right? Like, play Portal, play Franbo. I saw Scorn dropped, and I was like, well, I don't want to get an Xbox just for Scorn, but I'd get a PC for Scorn. So... but Franbo, the creepy story about a little girl who is just trying to make sense of her tragic world and, like, live peacefully in a world where there are beings who don't want her to live peacefully. It's good, and I love the art, and, like, playing through it was, like, cathartic. Like, we finally got there. It was a game... It was the game that every year, not even every year, every time Nintendo dropped an indie direct, or an indie world, I watched hoping for the Franbo announcement. And then Franbo didn't ever make it into an indie world. It just dropped. And I bought it as soon as it dropped and played it shortly thereafter and really, really enjoyed my time with it. It's such a good game. It's weird to think about that game. That game in my head is like a cozy game. But it's not cozy, like, at all. It is treacherous and dangerous. And I get an immense amount of comfort out of it. I really liked Franbo. Number 2 on this list. So, like, I feel like those 3 that I just talked about, Pikmin 4, Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations, Franbo, those are games that it's like, going into them, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna like them. I didn't necessarily know when I was going to play them. Pikmin 4, I mean, I did. I knew that one was going to be a big contender. But like the others, I was like, when I get to them, they'll probably be good, right? Whenever Franbo drops and when I happen to get around to Trials and Tribulations, when I want to play another Ace Attorney. This next one blindsided me. I did not know that this franchise existed until I think it was like December of last year, or maybe January or something, or maybe even February. I didn't know it existed. I saw a streamer play it and was like, oh, I'll check this out. I don't know why I did, but I did. I just so happened to, and I saw it and I was like enchanted. The music in this game really captured me, and the character, the silliness, the the lore, right? There being all the different little characters and everything, like really enchanted me, especially the music. And with the 3DS shop dying this year, I got a few games and I knew like this had to be one of them. It was a little bit pricier than the games that I was looking to buy, but in a way, I didn't care. I had to have it. And this was Rhythm Heaven Megamix. I also played Fever this year, but Megamix is the one that I like bust out and will still play. Like I have my 3DS in my bag that I take to work so that if I'm in a spot where I can like take a break and like listen to music and stuff like that, I'll be able to play it. I brought it to school and would play it in my downtime a little bit. I took it to a friend's bachelor party and had them play Lockstep, and it kind of became like the theme of the bachelor party. Flockstep is my favorite game in them, and the Huebirds of Happiness bring me an immense amount of joy. It's just so fun. It's so satisfying to go through and play the songs and get it right. It's rhythm games that I actually like. They have so much character in the animation, and I really am enchanted. And now that's the Nintendo game that I want, is a Switch Rhythm Heaven re-release Megamix, or make a big compilation of all the games with all the remixes or something, like a Rhythm Heaven Ultimate or something. That's the game that I want. That's really good. And I love it. Rhythm Heaven Megamix. It's so good. I haven't perfected everything yet. I don't have all the games unlocked on it yet. I haven't beaten enough of the challenge modes. So it's still a game that I could go through and 100%, and I would like to. But it's so good. And I look forward to when I'm like, yeah, let's play some more Rhythm Heaven. And now the number one game on the list, which anyone who has been talking to me recently knows is going to be the number one game on the list. And this actually is a game that maybe should encourage me to release this video maybe in like February or March, so that I am far enough removed from the game that I can be a little bit more, where does this actually land for me? Because I'm still playing it. I actually have it paused on the TV over, you can't see me pointing, over in the background. That's off screen for you. Is God of War Ragnarok with the Valhalla DLC. I played it this year starting in November and loved it. I loved it even more than the first one, than God of War 2018 that I played last year. In 2022. Which I think God of War 2018 was my number one game. I didn't play a lot of games, but I think that one was the number one. But this Ragnarok, it's like magic all over again. I love seeing Kratos help people with their problems and like help them learn the lessons that he learned. I love that the game has Kratos quoting back to people the things that they say to him, but doing it in a way that is healing and comforting and encouraging. I do like the parts with Atreus. I like seeing Atreus go and make friends with all these people and just be charming, and like as he's finding his way, he's like making it work because he's lovable. The combat with Atreus is very hard and not the most satisfying. It's not as satisfying as Kratos. But it's not bad enough for me to like stop playing. Part of the reason that this game takes number one is because it's the first game ever where I beat it, and afterward I was like, I want a new game plus. And I wanted the new game plus because like I had all the upgrades. But then Valhalla dropped. So I went and I played through the Valhalla story. And I got all the things that like work with the new game plus. So now I get to play new game plus with the new Rage, the Rage Legacy with the Sword of Olympus. And I get to do it in the classic outfit. It's very, very good. I love that I waited to play this game and that the DLC dropped. I beat the game like 2 days. Like I rolled credits 2 days before the DLC dropped. I went and platinumed it like a day after the DLC dropped and then played through the DLC. And it's so satisfying getting to go, spoiler, skip ahead if you don't want it, getting to go and fight Tyr. That's what we were wanting in Ragnarok, right? Like, or what we were expecting or something. And now in this case where it's Tyr, as someone who understands the importance of fighting to Kratos as a soldier, and as a fighter, and being like, yes, let me help you on your journey as you're doing this, and just be someone that you can spar with. So good. So good. Yeah, and having Kratos like confront his past and reconcile. Valhalla is so good. I actually like the pacing. The thing that gets me though, one of the critiques that I hear for Ragnarok is that the story doesn't have good pacing. This is a tricky thing for me to agree with or think about because in my head, the pacing is kind of set by the player. So I go in the first game and they give me side quests, and as soon as I can do the side quests, I do the side quests. Hi. As soon as I can do the side quest, I do the side quest. Hi. What are you doing, bud? Do you want to come up here? Want to say hi? Do you want to come here? No? Okay, bye. Oh, do you want to come here? Come here, Chance. Chancey. Come here. Come here. Hi. Come here. Hey. Come here. Hello. Hey. Ooh. I've got a dog. It's okay. Oh, hello. Hello. He doesn't like it when someone else tells him where he's going to go. Do you want to look at the camera? Look. 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 Do you see? Look. Oh, good boy. Good boy. Do you want to just chill? You want to just chill? You can't have any of that. So in my head, the pacing is like, they were like, oh, Freyr needed more development. No, he didn't. Like, he died, and that's a bummer, but it's like, we don't need to see that, right? Like, I mean, like, sure, if we had more development, like, it would hit more and be harder for us, right, to take it as an audience, and it would make us more sad. But do we need that? No. Like, Brock died. That's sad. That's... So I don't understand why people want more Freyr stuff when he is an auxiliary character to a secondary character, right? Like, Kratos is the main character. Well, arguably, I could hear arguments that, like, Kratos and Atreus are shared main characters. But then, like, Freya, Brock, Sindri, Angerboda, Thor and Thrud, I would argue, they're like the next ring, right? So you've got Kratos and Atreus. Next string out of that is all those guys. And then Freyr exists even further outside of that, right? So Brock is a character that we care about. We go, we fight with him, he travels with us, he gets us the spear, it's great. Freyr is even further outside of that, and he is important to Freya. So I don't think we need to be as like emotionally connected to Freyr. All he does is give us more of an emotional connection to Freya. So I don't understand why people are like, no, we should have had more Freyr stuff. It would have made his sacrifice more. Like, whatever. His sacrifice hurt. It was rough. It was sad. It's sad that like he's the like one thing that our team lost. The thing that's really sad is we don't see Freya mourn. That's the thing that I wish we would really have, right? Because we get her mourning with Brock, right, with us. But we don't get to see her mourn Freyr. And if we don't see that, I would have liked a line where she said, I'm not really sure how to feel. Like, we reconciled, but I still feel like I didn't really know him that well, so it's hard for me to really be sad. And I feel bad that I don't feel that sad, or something like that, right? And then Kratos could respond with some mourn how you wish or something. I think it's good. I think it's brilliant, and I like it. I like it more than 2018. It is more fun to me to play than 2018. And Valhalla is also great. So there. That's my top 10 this year. Games that I'm looking forward to playing this year. This year I'm going to play after this, I'm going to play the Alien Isolation DLC because playing it with my friend really made me want to play it, so I'm going to do that. And then after that, I'm going to play Hades. That is the game that I was talking to a friend of mine because he was like, what games should I play? I'm making a list and I want to know. And I was like, oh, you need to play this game because it was Chrono Trigger. So I was like, because it hits so many boxes. And every time you talk about not every time, but a lot of the times you talk about game design, I'm like, oh, kind of like how they do in Chrono Trigger. So it's you should play Chrono Trigger. I asked him that question of me and he said Hades, which really makes a lot of sense, so I'm going to do that. Other game that I found that makes a lot of sense for me to play would be Hi-Fi Rush, especially like because now I'm like, what other weird rhythm games are there? So kind of want to play Hi-Fi Rush. I don't own it, but if it goes on really good sale, maybe I'll buy it at some point. Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door and then the Princess Peach game are dropping this year. I've not played either of those, so I'm looking forward to doing that. I might play, I might. I want to play Mario RPG and Paper Mario since I have access to both before Thousand Year Door, even though I know Thousand Year Door is amazing. So I'll probably get Thousand Year Door when it drops, and then it'll go into the backlog. And then, yeah, Super Princess Peach might play just when it comes out, when it drops. Yeah, big wins for Pikmin this year. Every single Pikmin game is playable on the Switch, and you should play every single Pikmin game. And I think that's where I want to leave this. If you have a PS5 and you're not playing God of War, like, what are you doing? It's on sale, I think, with the holiday sale. You should play God of War and Ragnarok there. Worth the price of the console to me. And don't want to end this on me telling you to buy something. I hope that this year is good for you, that it is calming and peaceful, and you get to find out more about yourself and enjoy being yourself more this year than any other year before. And that if you're going and playing video games, I pray, hope, trust that they'll all be good and enjoyable to some extent. So I hope that you're able to pay attention to the good things and see them and notice them and not be too bogged down by the things that aren't so good. Thank you so much for watching all the way through, almost an hour long. I am so sorry. That's really rough. But thank you. I had a lot of thoughts about games this year that I did want to express. One of these days, I'll actually get a camera and I'll upload it to a computer and I'll actually edit it and it'll be much better, but it's not this day. Maybe this year. I don't know. I'm kind of optimistic about things that are going to happen this year. I have goals that I want to achieve. They just take time. So, yeah. Thanks. I do appreciate you. I do. Chances are, if you're watching this, I actually love you. And I value the time that we spend together.